I've come to the end of what's probably the quietest branch of the DLR at Beckton, but we are reaching ever so closer to there being a new branch that will split off one stop before Beckton to Thamesmead, which is very exciting. It's a place I love to explore, but for today we're doing an explore around another one of my favourite places in London, Beckton and the Royal Docks. It's pretty clear when you leave Beckton station and you look across the road, there's a very obvious footpath which looks to be a disused railway line, and that's how I'm starting my walk today. A lot of the DLR does use alignments of old railway lines. Much of the Beckton branch, for example, was an old line that ran to a terminus station called Galleons, and this was just a small branch off of it to a completely separate Beckton station to the one today on the DLR. It closed to passengers in 1940 because it kind of become cut off from the network due to damage during the Blitz, but it survived as a freight line for Beckton Gasworks until 1970. I have wondered whether it would be beneficial for the Thamesmead extension to use this alignment, just so that there are more direct services into London, because strangely for Beckton you're naturally heading east, but then there's quite the considerable curve around so that when you actually reach Beckton you're heading in a westbound direction. But that would be kind of more effort and more money, so there's not really the case for it, even though I feel that once the extension opens, Beckton will sort of be this cut off little branch with its station all by itself. Funnily enough though, this alignment could have been used by the Tube. Original plans for the Jubilee line, under the proposed name of the Fleet line, would have had it run beyond Charing Cross out to the Docklands, and there would have been a branch to Woolwich and a branch to Beckton, and it possibly could have even crossed the River Thames to Thamesmead. So it's good to see that hopefully eventually Thamesmead will finally get their railway line. Much anticipated. They've been crying out for one for years. So I'm not quite going to walk all of the disused railway before it rejoins the DLR route. I'm instead swapping to the Capital Ring, which will take me through Beckton District Park, which is split into a southern and northern section. Oh, it seems you can't walk the rest of it right now anyways. It's a good thing that the Capital Ring is heading in this direction then. So I've walked on up to the north end of Beckton District Park where the Capital Ring branches off to the east here, but I'm instead going to take a lovely little walk around this lake. So I've looped on around into King George V Park, which I've never been to before, but I've wanted to visit it because I've spotted on footpath signs around here over the years that there is a Newham City Farm, except it's been closed since 2021, kind of similar to how Greenwich Park has had no deer since that time. But it's okay because we came across a city farm on one of my recent walks in Paradise Park near Highbury. Just walked through Cundy Park next to Prince Regent Station, and it's here where the Elizabeth line briefly pops its head out to the surface to call at Custom House Station. And when they were constructing it, rather than design a very boring blank wall, they've decorated it with a lot of local history, information and stories from people in the area. I've found these little pathways where you can walk. One is Beckton Corridor, do you know it? Yes, that's the disused railway we walked this morning. I'm assuming these are kids' answers, which is quite funny. I went inside once, it was big. You've picked the smallest London airport. His favourite place is the £1 shop. You know what, that's fair. Who doesn't love the £1 shop? I feel like I got to include the one about the railway, considering I did a whole spew to camera about it on the disused railway this morning. Ah, Ronan Point. Yes, I've heard of this. Bit of a tragic story. Just completely collapsed the tower block, essentially. Well, that's another rather tragic story to end the wall off with. This is where the Elizabeth line's heading underground, so I just got to pass over the DLR line at Royal Victoria Station up there. It's on this side of the railway where you find the Silvertown Tunnel Cycle Shuttle Bus. It's free, you can only travel on it through the tunnel if you have a bike, and I'm wondering whether it's getting much usage now that we're almost a year into the tunnel being open. No one's gone off the bus. Yeah, I don't think many people use it. It's not the only means of transportation around here. You do of course have the IFS Cloud cable car, where similarly I would say that they probably don't get as many passengers as they were hoping for. I like that the board outside though still has a little bit of red branding on there from the previous sponsor, Emirates, the original one. City Hall is also situated here. This used to be beside Tower Bridge, beside the River Thames, until it moved out here in 2022, right in the shadow of the cable car. I have been on it many years ago. I don't think I'd really bother doing it again though. £7 single even. Nah, I'm not fussed. Yeah, empty. Aha, this sign still says Emirates Airline, even though it basically changed its name around the time that City Hall opened. The Royal Docks is perfect to walk around on a sunny day. This is exactly why it's one of my favourite parts of London to explore. Highlights include that big boat over there on the Custom House side, and a lot of the old cranes that surround the water from the shipping days, basically before everything moved out to Tilbury. At the bottom of the bridge that brings you over the water to Custom House, you'll find another old sign that has a National Rail symbol on. That's dating from the North Woolwich branch, which closed in 2005. Of course, nowadays you have the Elizabeth line, which will be represented by a purple roundel rather than that symbol. Also, cost cutter video. That's very old. It's not even a cost cutter anymore. My favourite spot around here though has to be Millennium Mills. What's probably the most iconic disused building in London. It closed in 1981. They've been saying for years that they're going to redevelop it, probably into apartments, and it's still not happened. So it's a relic of the former docks, stuck in time. Because of its abandoned nature, it's a great set for a lot of movies. It's been in a lot of media. I know it personally from Alex Rider. It's been in Paddington 2. They filmed part of YouTube Rewind 2016, I think it was, in there. Who remembers them videos? They were fun to take the mick out of. Anyways, there's also a fantastic brick chimney outside here too. Thought I'd pop into West Silvertown station quickly as I'm passing. First of all because I needed a photo of the station sign, but also because you get fantastic views in here of the golden syrup factory and a massive wasteland which could potentially see future development, which will also see a new station on the DLR open called Thames Wharf. Look at this new apartment block. It's quite strange to see it completely stripped out and bare right now. Anyways, I'm about to pass through Lisle Park, rather appropriate considering the golden syrup factory is just across the road. I don't think I've been through here before because I'm not entirely sure if this area was open last time I was here. Lisle Park leads you down to the River Thames, where it's not just the Royal Docks around here that you find water, and it's at this spot where you find Royal Wharf Pier, one of the newest ones in London, opening in 2019. It's apparently the longest Uber boat pier, but I don't think it's the longest in London. I think Erith beats it still. And this part I don't think was accessible last time I came, which is why I didn't go to Lisle Park, and I instead just got down to the pier by passing through this part of the development. But from here I'm going to take a lovely walk up the River Thames to the Thames Barrier. There's a great old relic here in the form of this pier, because there's some old railway tracks on it. This area is so different to what it used to be. It's pretty crazy to walk all the way along and it's just constant new apartments. It's hard to believe that the Thames barrier has already protected large parts of this part of London from flooding. I can't go that much further along the River Thames. There's a lot of industry in the way, such as the sugar factory up there. I think North Woolwich, where the ferry is the next point you can be by the Thames. So instead, I'll just head through Thames Barrier Park. Thames Barrier Park leads you to Pontoon Dock station, which is essentially the highest point of the DLR network and where you get a fantastic view out towards Millennium Mills. Because of it being so high up and it becoming quite busy with all of the new developments around here, Pontoon Dock is set to go through some rather major upgrade works that is going to begin in the summer. This is where you'll find Nightingale Hospital, or the site of it. This was set up during COVID, but it didn't survive that long after. Kind of surprised the sign's still here, to be honest. And despite all the redevelopments around here, I mean, of course, you've got the disused Millennium Mills, but also my diner, which I think has been closed around 20 years now. I'm surprised that it seems everywhere around here, apart from this site where the Mills is, has not yet been redeveloped. I'm crossing over the Connaught Bridge, where I've now completed my little circuit around the Royal Docks. There's a large empty space there just waiting for redevelopment. Millennium Mills, of course. I like how you can see the different stages of the XL Arena. You got the original one down there, the later extension, and the newest extension. You'll also find here a ventilation shaft for the Connaught Tunnel. This was used by the railway to North Woolwich, but is now used by the Elizabeth line once it leaves Custom House Station. There are more of the docks to walk down, where at this point you are opposite the runway for London City Airport, so it's pretty epic to see the planes landing and taking off. But on a Saturday afternoon, London City Airport's pretty dead, so unfortunately I don't think we're going to see any. I'm not even going to walk further along because I have done that in my Silvertown Tunnel video on opening day. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. What I'm instead going to do is quickly nip on over to Royal Albert Station. I just need a photo of this one as well for my collection. I think after this, the only stop on a DLR I don't have a photo of is Shadwell. Perhaps we should do a Shadwell walk some point this winter. Before the DLR came along, when this was an old railway line, there was a Connaught Road station around here, and in fact similar to Thames Wharf, and I just saw that on a proposed map for the future, there was going to be a potential Connaught station on this branch of the DLR pending further development, which never really came. I've walked on up to the next stop on the line at Beckton Park. This is actually the least used station on the DLR, and because of the weird convoluted nature that trains take to reach Beckton that I mentioned this morning, I do actually think it's probably quicker, if you're skilled enough, to get off here and run to Beckton. You can beat the train. The road outside is quite odd because only buses are allowed to use this, and there's only one route which comes down here, the 376, so it's pretty much always empty, it's quiet. And just like that, in no time at all, I'm back at Beckton DLR station. So let's do it all again. Let's go down the old let's not do that, let's instead just head up this way, because there's a couple more things I want to go and have a look at. So I've continued beyond the station to go and visit the Alps. No, seriously, there are Beckton Alps, or more just one mountain. Aha, that's perfect. That saves me having to climb over another fence. Essentially, where I'm at is nearby there was a Beckton gasworks, which was the largest gasworks in Europe. It featured in some films, most notably Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, and what they did was they constructed a huge mound, essentially, made out of toxic waste. And what they did with that mound was turn it into a ski resort. This is a former ski ramp. It was opened by Princess Diana. It closed, I think, in 2001, and it is the highest point in the borough of Newham, evident through the fantastic views that you get up here. I think it's also the largest artificial hill in London. Imagine going skiing here now. That would hurt a lot. I think it closed because essentially it's just not safe, because like it is a mound of toxic waste essentially. Right, I better descend on foot, which might feel like I'm skiing a little bit because I could be sliding on the mud. And no one will ever know. So carrying on with the walk, I've just done a little section of the Greenway where at this point we have been reunited with the Capital Ring. When that leaves Beckton District Park, where we were this morning, it comes up to here almost immediately. At this point, the Capital Ring actually stays on the Greenway for quite a while, through Plaistow and up to the Olympic Park and Hackney Wick. So Beckton is quite an industrial area. Of course, there was the gasworks there, but there still is a huge sewage treatment works, and the northern outfall sewer is actually underneath the Greenway and leads all the way down to Beckton. I do want to walk the Greenway in full one day, as well as the Ridgeway, a very similar path in South London, which is on top of the southern outfall sewer that runs towards Crossness pumping station. I'm just going to pass through a couple of parks quickly before I end the walk, such as Brompton Park here, which I've never been in, and Central Park, where I have been before, just not when it's this dark. And the last thing I wanted to see was a fancy old town hall belonging to the borough of Newham. But prior to the shake-up of the London boroughs in 1965, this would have belonged, there's a bus in the way, to East Ham. There you go. Which gives you a clue as to what station I'll actually be ending my walk at today that isn't Beckton. And no prizes to anyone that guessed West Ham. I mean West Hampstead. Oh, actually, no, East Ham. Well, that wasn't a particularly nice road to end the walk on, but I've made it to the station. It's gotten dark now, by the way, obviously. For reference, I am filming this the day before winter solstice, the longest night. I'll probably upload this on Christmas Eve. So for my early viewers, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. For my later viewers, Happy New Year. And if you're watching after that, I don't know, Happy Birthday or something.